A disability is something that has a major impact on your life.
Every disability is different.
And it's never the same thing for two people. I am blind in my right eye totally and partially sighted in my left eye.
I was 18 years old. We were traveling way too fast on a gravel road. Broke my neck, my back.
My Asperger's syndrome and my cerebral palsy.
I have anxiety and depression. People would have no idea just talking to me.
Being independent means different things to different people.
I want to live in my own house. I want to pay my own bills.
Live independently and not rely on other people.
When someone is not able to live as independently as they can, it does have a detrimental effect on people's physical and mental well-being.
It's no complicated thing. It's just that people with disabilities want to be included.
Plenty of people get stuck in ruts when they feel like they can't overcome something in their life. That's where LIFTT comes in.
Living independently for today and tomorrow. LIFTT. We help people of all ages and all types of disabilities find the resources or acquire the skills to live as independently as possible.
We serve the southeastern 18 counties here at the Billings office. We have a variety of things that we offer. We can help with grant funding for adaptive equipment.
Maybe a home modification so they're able to access their home. We help people to find that funding.
Helping people apply for Social Security benefits.
Medicaid, Medicare, housing.
They have a peer support group. Peer support, I think, is key.
Sharing life experiences is one of the most powerful things to help people who might be new to disability, who might be struggling with their disability.
Youth transitions is kids that are transitioning out of high school. They need to learn those adulting skills. It might be rent an apartment, learn how to grocery shop, budgeting.
Help someone advocate for themselves in a school or an employment setting. One of our biggest strengths is providing folks with information and referral. If we can't help you, we hope to know who can.
A lot of times we'll have a potential consumer call in and they think that they just have one need, and it turns out that we end up finding 3 or 4 things we can actually do for them.
You can just come in and say, hey, I feel like I have this going on. Can you help me? And we can, which is so cool to me. I love that.
Most of us on staff at LIFTT have identified ourselves as having one or more disabilities. That is helpful in many cases.
It's easier to empathize with someone when you yourself have struggled with a disability.
This is what we specialize in. This is who we are, and this is what we do.
And it costs nothing to go to LIFTT. It's a nonprofit organization and they're there to help.
Somebody that was a consumer that was working with LIFTT was asked to do an art project. He visualized that the balloon helps to lift people up. And then it became the logo, and it's stuck.
There's been success on all kinds of levels.
It's really rewarding to have a consumer go, hey, I was able to do this by myself today.
We want people to live their best life as independent as possible.
Live as everyone else in society and live as a part of society, not apart from society.
Everybody needs help. Sometimes you just need a little more help, and that's okay. That's absolutely okay.
There's plenty of life to live still, and there's a way you can do it. Keep chipping away at it, little by little by little.
Knowledge is power. Let's share it, for crying out loud.
Send us an email, give us a call. We'll do our best to help.
We can definitely help figure out what your needs are and get started on that. We're one of many steps in the path to independence, and we're happy to be serving people here in the community.
Good day and welcome to Living Well in Montana. Living Well in Montana is a program of living independently for today and tomorrow. LIFTT, L-I-F-T-T as we often style ourselves. LIFTT is what is known as a Center for Independent Living. We are a place and a organization that serves as a conduit for resources and advocacy for persons with disabilities seeking to live as independently as possible. For more information about LIFTT, you can give us a call at 406-259-5181 or visit us online at lift.org. Again, my name is Jed Barton, and I'm a public relations specialist at LIFTT, and I'll be hosting the program today. The topic today at LIFTT, one of the things that that differentiates us from a lot of organizations, or at least did it back in the beginning of the independent living movement, is that centers for independent living are not only for people with disabilities, they are by people with disabilities. In other words, the staff, much of the staff and the board of directors at LIFTT themselves have disabilities, and we are always about supporting the disability community in its efforts to support itself. And that's what today's guest is here. Today's guest is Andrew Walker. He is an amputee and an advocate for other amputees who leads an amputee support group that is just getting started here in the Billings area. Andrew, welcome to Living Well in Montana. Let's start off with a little bit about your story. How did you come to be an amputee and an advocate?
Well, thank you for having me. First of all, I really appreciate being on this show. So my story actually starts not too long ago. Happened on Christmas Eve. I started to have swelling in my right foot.
So this is Christmas Eve 24?
2024.
Okay.
Yeah, so very, 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 very recent.
August.
So I think it's about 7 months now, almost on the dot.
2025.
Yeah. But so I was perfectly fine that morning, was working out with my friends. We went on a hike, we saw Santa Claus. And that evening I started to have some discomfort in my heel, where it got to the point where I was rocking my 9-month-old to sleep, and I couldn't get out of the rocking chair, like my foot hurt. So I texted my wife to come help me get out of the chair. And then by that next morning I was throwing up, in so much pain I could barely see. This is Christmas Day, right? Mm-hmm. We have 3 kids, so everyone's kind of wondering what's going on with Dad. Mm-hmm. I go into the hospital, and by that evening I'm completely intubated. Every organ system shut down. What I found out later is I had toxic shock syndrome from very pernicious strain of strep A. And by December 26, 2024, they amputated below the knee, and they went back several times and did end up having an above knee. So
and that's
on the right leg. So this one right here. Okay. We can show the crowd later what knee I have, and we'll talk about that. But it happened very fast. It was very quick, and I basically was in some just ICU delirium until about January 9th was my first day of lucidity. So I kind of came to on January 9th and was very confused because everything I told you, my wife told me. I don't remember any of that stuff.
Fair enough. So, and you said this came about because of strep virus, or?
Yeah, so apparently
it's basically like strep throat, or? Yeah,
so strep throat. So I'm not trying to scare anybody, okay. But it's extremely rare. But what can happen, and what doctors told me, is that sometimes the strep virus can get lodged in small blood vessels in little areas of your foot, and it gets stuck there. And when it gets stuck, it very rapidly starts reproducing. and very quickly you become septic and you get very, very sick very fast. Because I don't know if you've ever had a sore throat, you kind of feel a little tickle, the next day you can't talk. So imagine that, but in your foot where it's now just festering. Luckily, it was very distal to my, my body, so they were able to amputate and save my life. But it's an extremely rare condition that does not happen a whole lot. So thank God.
Yeah. And so you regain lucidity on January 9th, and they tell you that what they had to do, obviously, or eventually tell you what they had to do. What was your initial sort of reaction, I guess?
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I was very thirsty. So my initial reaction, it's not funny, but I had a feeding tube.
Right.
So I was just asking people for juice, and they were like, no, I had dysphagia, so I damaged from the intubation, so I couldn't swallow. And I was like, hey, can I just have some juice, please? And they're like, no, you can't. And I'm like, oh. But I mean, initially it was just very bizarre, because I didn't know what happened, and my mind had a whole bunch of crazy dreams as to what happened.
Right.
So my wife had to sit me down and explain, hey, this is what happened. And you can't imagine waking up from a dream and all of a sudden not having a leg, and you can't really talk that well, and you can't swallow. And I went in 240 pounds, and I woke up at 187, so I lost 50 pounds. Obviously some of that's your leg. Right. But I was very weak from being bedbound and not eating. So it was shocking. It was a lot of emotional ups and downs, a lot of processing. It was very difficult to process at the time, and it was very, very challenging mentally and physically, but mentally as well.
And the sort of the rehabilitation mountain that you faced, you had already sort of seen it from the other side.
Yeah.
You were telling me before we went on camera that you previously, vocationally, you were a physical therapy assistant, and then you worked at the rehab hospital.
Well, yeah, so I worked at the rehab hospital, not in the capacity of a therapist.
Right.
I was a liaison, but I worked with patients as a physical therapist assistant for 7 years.
Okay.
And a lot of patients were amputees. A lot of patients were people would come into the hospital right after a stroke, right after amputation, right after a knee surgery, and help them up. So it was a very weird role reversal for me, and having therapists come in and see me day one of regaining my, climbing the mountain, so to speak.
Right.
So yeah, that was a strange moment, but in a way, I did know some of what is expected, as far as exercises with your
intellectually, you're better prepared than most for what happens. Obviously, there's a whole range of emotions and feelings that cloud that knowledge, but I would think it'd be an interesting perspective to have done that and then have to do that yourself.
Yeah, no, it was very strange, but it did help a lot. My wife, who's a saint, Aspen, she is a therapist as well.
Okay.
We actually met in PTA school, and so she was great at helping me, stretch my leg out, make sure I'm moving well, and she already had, a prosthetist lined up, someone who makes legs. She already had physical therapy lined up, and she was already reaching out to other people, other amputees, and trying to understand where we move next, even before I was awake. And that's a big thing mentally, I think, that helped me a lot, is just meeting individuals who've had similar injuries and understanding that it's going to be okay. Like we're gonna have, it's gonna look a little different, but life's gonna continue, and it's gonna be all right.
So do we have a idea of, in the community, of how many people there are living with amputations? Or
I mean, it's a very small percentage.
Yeah.
A lot of, usually you see, I think most amputations are due to type 2 diabetes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I have a large percentage of the VA military personnel who have suffered limb loss. But it's hard to say exactly how many, but it's a small minority overall.
That's what I would figure. And as you said, the picture of the amputees, either diabetes related or Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I get a lot of thank you for your service, and I'm like, I was in the military.
Right.
I get tired of it at some point. I'm just like, you're welcome. Like I'm at a gas station. I'm not gonna unpack my whole trauma right there. I'm getting the Celsius.
Yeah.
So I had this morning someone asked me in the gym, like, military? I'm like, no sir.
Right.
So.
Yeah. That's so. Again, we'll come back to that, because as you're starting this support group, I think that's interesting, bringing various pieces of the community together, or finding a niche for a piece of the community. So you were at St. V's or Billings Clinic, I don't remember.
I was at the Billings Clinic.
Billings Clinic,
Yeah.
and from there you went to the Rehabilitation Hospital?
Yes.
And
yeah.
How long were you there?
I was there for, I think, just at 2 weeks.
Okay.
They did a great job. It's 3 hours of therapy a day. So every day they pushed me a little bit further, and in 2 weeks I was able to go home.
Okay.
And it was actually there that one of my friends who's an amputee came in and visited me. He's someone who he lost a leg as a kid and went on to play football. So that starting to have that mental healing, right?
Right.
And then I went home, which was really tough. I think that was probably the hardest, like 3 or 4 weeks of my life, just adjusting to being home and like seeing how different things were going to be.
Yeah, I want to touch on that, because I think that's how you initially got in contact with LIFTT and one of our independent living specialists, Teresa Sands, who unfortunately could not be here today, or she'd be in my chair, because she knows you better than I do. Just throwing that out there. But were there, again, the obvious home modification, of course, is somebody goes from not using a wheelchair to using a wheelchair, and they need a ramp. Well, maybe for a little while you used a wheelchair, I don't know, but it wasn't that. But were there modifications and adaptations to your home and to your physical world that needed to be made?
I think the biggest thing is, for a long time I was walking with a walker.
Okay.
So I was hopping, let's be honest. So that was a hard thing, just kind of moving that around the house. And I needed a shower chair, right? Yep. I still use a shower chair in my shower. So I still have some crutches just in case I don't have my leg with me or it's not fitting.
Right.
And, we had like a toilet riser. There was extendable shower head. But the big things are the shower chair, extendable shower head. That's the thing, big modifications that we had in our house. And I think I've gotten to the point now where I'm just moving around well enough where we don't have the handrails yet, but we're going to probably eventually get handrails into it. But
handrails are
just a little,
awesome.
A little stability there.
Yeah. So you mentioned that your wife had sought out a prosthetic maker, and so what's that process like? How do they do that, I guess?
Well, I
have a little bit
Yeah, you have the orthotics,
orthotics, so
which is similar.
yeah.
It's definitely a science and an art. You know, everyone's limb is slightly different. They mature differently, and it's at first it's a difficult process. You know, they first cast your leg, they make a mold of it, then they make a socket, then they have like a test leg, and then you finally get the actual leg. So it takes about 3 weeks once you're physically able to wear one, because we want to make sure that your limb's healed,
Right.
And not open sores or anything. And then the whole process of getting the socket to fit, because your residual limb shrinks as you mature and get older. Like it starts having less fluid in it. It starts just atrophying the muscles. So you're constantly going back in, getting it refitted, getting a little bit cut off here and there, making it tighter. So it's definitely a process, but it does get better. So like over time, you start getting to fit correctly, and then after, I think the sweet spot of maturity is about 2 years. This is my second leg and like third socket since,
Right.
I think I got my first leg in March. Yeah, January, February, March. Yeah,
Right.
First leg in March.
Yeah.
So, not May. So I have 3 total legs now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And okay. So again, before your illness, I guess you were working in pharmaceutical sales, and you've gone back to that?
Yeah, so I'm back at work. Luckily, my job is pretty easy as far as labor intensive. I'm just talking to people, and I just drive a lot. I taught myself how to drive with my left foot. Only took like 15 minutes.
Okay, so you're driving with the left foot. I was going to ask about hand controls, but
yeah, no, I'm gonna get left-sided pedals.
Okay.
But I mean, honestly, I think when you're put in a position where you just have to do something, it just probably just figures it out.
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, my wife, we have 3 children, running them around to school. I was like, I need to be able to drive.
Right.
So I was like hopping through the snow into my car and going to my medical appointments, driving there. So, but it didn't really take too long. So,
Okay.
but that was a concern of mine early on, because I mean, you got to be able to drive as a big part of your freedom.
Yep.
As a human being, is being able to drive places.
Yep.
So.
All right. So that brings us to this sort of newer venture that you've embarked on with the assistance of the folks at the Rehabilitation Hospital, I think. And it's an amputee support group. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, so that's kind of why we're here today. So, like I mentioned, part of the healing process is just talking to people who've been through it. And it was a huge impact for me. Both people who came and visited me and people I met online, and just seeing stuff that they're able to do and hearing from people, and just, normal things like, what do you do when you get, blisters in your leg? Okay, well, I put Vaseline on it. So, through the Rehab Hospital of Montana, what we've done is create an amputee support group. They meet on the second Monday of every month at 6:30. We get together and we commiserate. We talk about tips, tricks. If something's going on in our lives, we share, something that's great that happened. And we have speakers come in and kind of tell about resources. I think LIFTT visited one of our meetings.
I think they did.
And just to let them know what's out there, and then just make a community of people who have been through the same thing, and so we can get through this together. And that's been probably the biggest thing for my mental health, which is meeting other folks who have been through the same thing, and just having someone to talk to that understands on that level.
Yeah, there's what we say is that people with disabilities are their own best experts. You
Exactly.
know how your disability affects you better than anybody else, and that's part of what we, and that's part of what we have to, deal with out in the world. is that people, whether it's benign, assuming that a person of your age and physical characteristics was an amputee because of service, or or because somebody knows somebody who has the same condition as you, they think they know how to treat you, and I was wondering if that makes sense. But the idea of, that is very much within the independent living philosophy that we practice at LIFTT, of, bringing the amputees together, bringing your peer group together, and that's the second, sort of to repeat again, that's the second Monday of each month at 6:30.
6:30
at the Rehabilitation Hospital of Montana, which is located.
I forgot the address, but it's near the exit.
Near the Zoo Drive exit.
The Zoo Drive exit, yeah,
Right.
Zoo Drive exit. It's real close. It's also, Rehab Hospital of Montana. It's a mouthful, but Google it and it's online. It's it's open to anyone. So not just amputees, but
Right.
families of amputees. Like it's also for support of the family members. We've had wives and husbands come in as well with their spouses, children. If you have a child as an amputee, it's for everyone to kind of help and grow and understand this and work together to get through it.
Okay. And do you guys have a electronic presence?
Not yet. I think we're working on that piece of it. For right now, what I'm just directing them to do, if they want to join and know more about it, I'm on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
So it's Andrew Walker on Facebook and it's Amped Up Walker on Instagram. And
Okay.
it's a cool name, Amped Up Walker for Instagram. It's pretty sweet.
Okay.
But if they want to reach out and get information, I've had people reach out to me and ask to attend. They can reach me on either one of those platforms. My profiles are public, so they can just message me directly, and we'll get them to it. Or they could just call the Rehab Hospital of Montana, ask for Lynn Ratcliffe.
Okay.
So.
All right, Andrew Walker, thank you for sharing your story for your work as an advocate and with the support group. And we look forward to hearing again from you in the future, no doubt.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the time, and everyone have a good day.
All right. Yeah. This has been Living Well in Montana, a program of LIFTT, Living Independently for Today and Tomorrow. For more information about LIFTT's programs and services, please visit our website at liftt.org. My name is Jed Barton. Thank you and good day.